Hello and welcome to the Courtney Show, and I'm your host, you guessed it, Courtney. And today we're going to be talking to folks about the Pope as a cultural phenomenon, particularly Popes John Paul II and Francis. We're joined today by noted historian Fred Fredrickson. Hi, Fred.
Nice to meet you.
Well, I have some questions for you.
Okay.
Do you feel the Pope is a cultural phenomenon?
I think so, because he reaches out to people worldwide, regardless of their religion. Pope Francis has voiced a much stronger commitment to social justice. He has spoken out more often about environmental issues. He's preached about unfettered capitalism, and he has voiced his opinions about, like, say, immigrants and marginalized people much more strongly than other popes in the past, and I think this is of a different kind.
And why do you think Pope Francis is more sympathetic to immigrants?
I think it's probably because he came from a family of immigrants. His family immigrated from Italy to Argentina, and so he relates more, he sympathizes a lot more to immigrants and the struggles that they have to go through, and he also shares their hopes and dreams of building a new life. And I think this had a very big impact on his concern for immigrants and how he's able to reach such a broad audience of people around the world.
Okay. How is the cultural phenomenon of the Pope changed through time, specifically through Popes John Paul II to present-day Pope Francis?
Well, I think Pope Francis today benefits a lot from the internet and social media. Social media, like Twitter, allows for Pope Francis to connect to people a lot quicker and a lot more instantaneously than, say, John Paul II. When John Paul II was Pope, there was no internet, no smartphones, no social media, at least throughout much of his tenure as Pope. So for people to have access to the Pope, they would have had to be able to catch him on a regularly scheduled limited television programming, or they would have to read about him in like a printed newspaper, or they would have to attend one of his speeches in person. So, as I was saying, Pope Francis benefits from social media because people can access him at any time.
That is some fascinating insight, Fred Fredrickson. And earlier today we set out to field some questions about people's perceptions of Popes John Paul II and Pope Francis. So go ahead and roll the tape, Barney. Hi, excuse me. We're fielding questions about people's views on Pope Francis. Can you give us yours?
I'm a Catholic, right? And so I follow Catholic stuff pretty closely, but when Pope Francis was elected, I was like, he's kind of breaking tradition. He's not exactly the guy I wanted. And, like he asked that question. When he was asked about homosexuality, he said, who am I to judge? I mean, that's a clear break from Catholic tradition. I'm just not okay with that.
And what exactly makes you feel that way?
I mean, he's just loosening rules, and that's just not okay with me.
Yeah, and what if I told you that 63% of American Catholics view him favorably, and it's the same percent as Pope John Paul II was?
I mean, I would say American Catholics are becoming less Catholic as well. They're losing their tradition. I mean, what percent of that 63% actually attends Mass? And, like Pope John Paul II, he was a true Catholic leader. He was a Pope that you could follow, and he was following tradition. But I mean, like, Francis, all he does is just make jokes. That's all he does.
È il pane, il vero pane dell'anima, per andare avanti. È freddo, è duro, è più difficile fare la pace. Ricordate bene, mai finire la giornata senza fare la pace.
Hi. We are fielding questions about people's view of Pope Francis. Can you tell us your view?
I'm an evangelical, so I don't follow the Pope. I don't think harsh rhetoric against Pope will turn away younger evangelicals.
Okay.
I mean, I'm not saying I love Pope. I'm saying that younger evangelicals may not buy into rhetoric against Pope.
Okay, so then how do evangelicals compare with the Pope then?
Well, for one, we're more committed to our faith. Pope Francis is like more cottage. He's straying from the fundamental beliefs. The possible good thing is that disillusioned Catholics may join us. We'll see.
Thank you for your time. And try and catch this.
Oh, hi.
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 We're fielding questions about people's views of Pope Francis. Would you care to share?
Sure, yeah.
So go ahead.
Well, the way he's reached out to the Muslim community is really incredible. I mean, John Paul II always talked about understanding and brotherhood in God, but this new guy really practices what he preaches. I mean, the Sheikh of Al-Azhar, for the first time in history, visited the Vatican to meet with the Pope. The Sheikh is the highest religious authority for Sunni Muslims, and that speaks volumes to me.
So do you feel like Pope Francis's message is hitting closer to home?
Yeah, I think so. He just seems more accessible and more human. I mean, you'd see John Paul II on the nightly news preparing or delivering prepared speeches, and with Francis, I can pull up his Twitter feed or search YouTube videos of him in an instant, and there are far more videos of him interacting off the cuff with regular people than there are prepared speeches. I mean, have you seen that one with the pizza?
Oh, you look at his Twitter feed?
I mean, yeah, I'll look at it occasionally. It's pretty novel to have a world religious leader on Twitter, and it's all pretty positive and uplifting, and you don't need to be Catholic to appreciate that.
Thank you. Hi there. Hi. Excuse me. We're doing a survey on people's views of Pope Francis. Do you care to share?
Yeah, sure.
How do you feel about him?
He's a cool guy. Not really. I mean, he's an awesome guy. I follow him on Twitter and everything. #ThePope, and on Tumblr as well. The other day I was just watching Netflix and I saw him actually tweet about how political discourse is really healthy for our society, and I thought that was really a great perspective. It actually got me looking at the candidates in this current election pretty differently.
Okay. Are you religious at all?
Am I religious? No. And a lot of my friends, they're not religious either, actually. They're not even Catholics. Matter of fact, many of my friends are agnostic, but I think we still gravitate towards the Pope's message. So social generosity, social activism, and kind of being independent and very, I guess, future forward and progressive in your viewpoint. I believe his message is very similar to other leaders such as Deepak Chopra and who else? I'm forgetting one, but I follow them on Twitter as well, and they're pretty cool and funny. But yeah, I think their message is shared. He's different.
Do you think his views are an antithesis of traditional Western civilization?
Absolutely. I mean, he just has this great belief in individual potential and collective empathy, and I mean, I think he's just all for that kind of stuff. I mean, our society is so fragmented and very individualistic now. It's really good to have his sentiment on things as well, especially now on my Twitter feed and Tumblr page. It's really inspirational. I'm on that thing like all day. Yeah, I think once again, only a few other leaders share that same sentiment. The Dalai Lama and Deepak Chopra, they have like 4.2 million followers, so they must be doing something absolutely right. So, yeah.
So he's not just another figurehead to you?
No, he's cool, He's an activist. He's an influencer. He's the god darn Pope. The P-O-P-E. So.
Okay then, there you have it.
So Fred, what are your views on what we just showed you?
Well, it seems to me that the cultural dissemination of information changes over time because of technology. Like for instance, social media and Twitter just allows information, I should say, to be more readily accessible nowadays. And also, I think some of the differences are generational. The younger people are more in tune to the Pope, mostly because of the technology, but also because they feel that the new Pope, Francis, kind of shares their viewpoints. And also it's interesting to see how different people representing different cultures and backgrounds express their opinions about the popes. It's actually kind of complicated. It's not that simple. But obviously, I mean, information seems to play an important role here.
Absolutely. There you have it, folks. The Pope as a cultural and information phenomenon, as told by our audience members, street viewers, streetwalkers. No, that's wrong.
The Walking Dead.
As told by average day people out on the sidewalk. Thank you, Fred, and thank you all. Have a fantastic night, and I'll see you next time on The Courtney Show.